There comes a moment in every person's life, a silent moment. It doesn't announce itself, it doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It comes in the stillness, when the noise fades, when the world stops pulling, and all that remains is the question echoing from the depths of your soul. Is this all there is? That is not a question of despair. That is not weakness. That is the birth cry of destiny. The first breath of the fire you've tried to suppress for too long. You were not born to live at half speed. You were not built to be ordinary. You were not designed to shrink into the shadows of your own potential. You were created, intentionally, specifically, divinely, to rise, to stretch beyond the limits that were programmed into your mind, to unlock a force that no one around you may understand, but that's because they haven't heard what you've heard. They haven't felt what you feel. They haven't stared into the mirror with that strange mix of rage and hunger, knowing deep down, you were made for more. This is where it begins. Not tomorrow. Not next year when the timing is better or the plan is perfect. Right here, right now. Because there is one truth the world cannot erase. You are the only one who can unlock what's buried inside of you. And the key? It's not out there. It's not hidden in a book or a seminar or a coach's Instagram reel. It's already in your hand. But like every lock, it turns only with the right code. This is the code. This is the mindset of unstoppable winners. First comes belief, the furnace within. Everything you will ever build begins first in belief. And I don't mean the watered-down version of belief we throw around today, the self-help buzzword version that evaporates when pressure hits. I mean the kind of belief that creates steel in your spine, the kind that made Thomas Edison fail 10,000 times and still whisper, "I didn't fail, I found 10,000 ways that didn't work." The kind that made Henry Ford declare, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right," and then build an empire when everyone else said he was a lunatic. The world bends not to talent, not to luck, but to belief fortified by relentless action. Do you believe you're worthy of greatness? Not with your mouth, with your decisions, because belief isn't a thought, it's a choice, every single day. You choose to believe when you show up early and stay late. You choose to believe when you fail and still stand back up. You choose to believe when you're laughed at, ridiculed, rejected, and you still keep moving forward. Belief is the furnace. It is not passive, it is not soft, it is fire. But here's the truth most never say: you don't find belief by waiting. You forge it. In the fires of challenge, in the heat of discipline, in the agony of progress that no one applauds. That's why most people never develop it. Because belief, real belief, costs you everything that is weak and mediocre inside you. But once it's lit, it becomes a force the world cannot contain. Second number of the code, clarity cutting through the fog. But belief without clarity is like fire without direction. It burns, but it doesn't build. And this is where most dreams die. Not in fear, not in failure, in fog. You cannot hit a target you cannot see. You cannot rise to a life you haven't defined. Clarity is the blade that cuts through the confusion. What do you want? Not what your parents want, not what society rewards, not what your friends think is cool. What do you want? With a white-hot intensity that makes compromise impossible. Winners are not born different. They just get clear sooner. Clarity breeds focus. Focus breeds momentum. Momentum breeds inevitability. But you will never be clear until you stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending you're okay with average. Stop telling yourself you don't care about the money, the impact, the freedom, when your soul is screaming for expansion. Stop waiting for permission to want what you want. You were not given a vision to keep it in a cage. You were not handed a dream so you could politely ignore it for the rest of your life. You were given that fire because you were meant to build something with it. So write it down, speak it out loud. See it in your mind with so much clarity that the world around you feels like fiction in comparison. When you get that clear on who you are, what you want, and what price you're willing to pay, you become unstoppable. Third number of the code, purpose, the engine behind the grind. Now listen carefully. Clarity tells you where you are going, but purpose tells you why you should never stop. Purpose is not a slogan. It's not a mission statement you slap on a website. Purpose is war. It's the war you declare on your own mediocrity. It's the pain you've turned into power. It's the reason you get up when it's dark and cold and no one's watching. Andrew Carnegie didn't build steel empires for fun. He was fueled by the purpose of creating a legacy that outlived him. Lincoln didn't suffer depression, criticism, and repeated political failure because he loved politics. He was pulled by a purpose that said, "This union shall not fall." Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination, fired from newspapers, rejected by investors, but he had a vision to bring magic into the real world. That was his purpose, and it made him immortal. What is yours? What are you willing to suffer for? Because make no mistake that greatness always demands suffering. But when you have a purpose, pain becomes fuel. It's no longer, "Why is this happening to me?" It becomes, "This is shaping me." And when your purpose is rooted deep enough, when it's wrapped in legacy, love, fire, and truth, there is no obstacle that can outlast you. Fourth number of the code, discipline, the silent architect of power. Don't wait to feel motivated. Don't chase energy or inspiration. That's for amateurs. Winners build discipline. And discipline is brutal, it's cold, it's thankless, but it's divine. Because while others wait for permission, you will build habits that become weapons. While others scroll, complain, quit, you will rise, work, refine. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. And the truth, discipline doesn't care how you feel, it only cares what you do. The man who trains when he's tired wins. The woman who builds when no one believes reigns. Discipline is a love letter to your future self. You don't practice it because it feels good. You practice it because greatness demands it. Fifth number of the code, action, where dreams are forged in blood. Action, the sacred ground of achievement, the graveyard of excuses. Every idea that never existed died in the absence of action. You can have belief, you can have vision, you can have purpose carved in fire and discipline hard as steel, but without action, it is a dream sealed in a coffin, and the world is filled with brilliant minds rotting in mediocrity because they never moved. But understand this, action doesn't mean noise, it doesn't mean busyness. It means decisive, deliberate, defiant motion in the direction of your destiny. You will not have all the answers. You are not supposed to. Thomas Edison didn't have a blueprint for the light bulb. He created one through action. Steve Jobs didn't invent the iPhone with a master plan handed to him by the universe. He dared to act boldly before the path was proven. You must be willing to move before the staircase appears. Most people won't. Most people wait for clarity, comfort, and certainty, and while they wait, the few who act lead. Because action is sacred. It is what separates the philosopher from the king, the dreamer from the builder, the spectator from the one who rewrites history. The battlefield doesn't care what you know. It only listens to what you do. So stop waiting for the stars to align, they won't. You align your heart, your mind, your body, and you move. Move messy, move scared, move with trembling hands and a racing heart. But move, because even imperfect motion will carve a path through stone. And when the winds howl, when the critics speak, when your knees buckle under the weight of doubt, remember this. The act of moving forward is the greatest rebellion against a life unlived. Sixth number of the code, gratitude, the warrior's inner power. And in the middle of the storm, in the hunger, in the hustle, in the fire of ambition, never forget to bow your head in gratitude. Because gratitude is not weakness. Gratitude is not soft. Gratitude is strength. It is the force that grounds you when the noise of progress threatens to drown your soul. It is the reminder that you are not owed another breath, another sunrise, another chance to fight. You are gifted them. The warrior gives thanks before battle. The champion gives thanks in defeat. The winner gives thanks not because life is perfect, but because life still offers the chance to keep climbing. When you begin to see every challenge as a gift, when you start thanking the pain, the pressure, the rejection, you transcend average. You become immune to the virus of self-pity. You become invincible, not because life becomes easier, but because you become deeper. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. It doesn't mean tolerating less. It means honoring the path that forged you. It means finding power in what others discard. It means never forgetting that the road behind you is filled with versions of you who would give anything to be where you are now. Do not curse the grind, bless it. Do not despise the wait, embrace it. And when you rise, when you conquer, when your hands finally touch the mountaintop, you will remember how sacred this journey was. Gratitude is the soul of the unstoppable. 7th number of the code: adaptability, the art of reinvention. There will come a moment when everything you've built will be tested, the plans will crumble, the system will fail, what once worked won't. And in that moment, average minds panic. They freeze, they retreat. But the winner adapts. Adaptability is the secret code written in the DNA of every titan who ever lived. Because the path to greatness is not a straight line. It is a series of violent pivots. Look at the story of Abraham Lincoln. He wasn't elected president in one clean sweep. He lost elections, faced public humiliation, endured loss after loss, until he transformed into the unshakable leader the nation needed. Look at Walt Disney. Bankruptcy, betrayal, studio theft, and he kept evolving, reinventing, dreaming. Adaptability is not reaction, it is creation. You do not wait to be rescued, you rebuild. You do not pray for the storm to pass. You become the architect of a new ship mid-hurricane, with bloody hands and unbreakable will. You want to be unstoppable? Learn to let go of what no longer serves you, no matter how long you clung to it. Old mindsets, old models, old identities. Burn them, and from the ashes rise again. This world belongs to those who bend but never break, to those who change without compromising their soul. You don't need to know what comes next. You only need to trust that you will meet it ready. 8th number of the code: resilience, the sacred force of the chosen few. Resilience is not what you think it is. It's not toughness. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's the sacred ability to keep standing even after life has tried to bury you. The greatest among us, they have all fallen. They have all known the taste of defeat, betrayal, humiliation, loss. But the difference is this: they refuse to stay down. Resilience is the defiant whisper, "I will not die here." It is forged not in comfort, but in the fire of suffering that tried to break you and failed. It is not a gift. It is not talent. It is a decision made in blood and silence that no matter how hard it gets, you will rise. Thomas Edison, after being told he had a weak mind. Oprah Winfrey, after being abused and discarded. Michael Jordan, cut from his high school team. They didn't win because life was fair. They won because they made a vow that no matter how many times they were crushed, they would rebuild themselves again and again until the world had no choice but to recognize them. Resilience means you've been through hell, but chose not to stay there. It is a badge of honor worn by those who've battled their own demons and won. So when the world gets loud, when you're alone, broken, misunderstood, or afraid, smile, because that is the exact moment where most give up. But that's the moment you break free. 9th number of the code: learning, the sacred hunger of giants. The average man learns to survive. The winner learns to evolve. Because true power is not static. It is fed daily by the fire of curiosity. Learning is not something you do. It is something you are. The unstoppable are not the ones who know everything. They are the ones who never stop asking. Because the moment you believe you've arrived is the moment you begin to rot. Understand this. Every empire built, every fortune forged, every legacy remembered was constructed on the foundation of relentless learning. Carnegie read, Ford studied, Disney obsessed. They understood what the world still forgets, that your mind is your ultimate weapon, and sharpening it is not optional. It is war. And this war, it's not against others, it's not against the system, it's against your own complacency. In a world addicted to distraction, those who focus, who learn, who train in silence, will rise in thunder. When others drown in entertainment, you choose education. When others mock what they don't understand, you master it. Because learning doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you dangerous. A man who continues to learn becomes unpredictable, uncontainable, unstoppable, and the world can no longer fit him into the mold it built. So, be hungry, be ravenous, feed your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. The man who learns today leads tomorrow. 10th number of the code. Courage, the fire in the spine. Let's talk about courage, not the kind printed on t-shirts or posted as quotes. I'm talking about the courage that wakes you up at 4 a.m. with a dream so loud it shakes your chest. The courage to defy your bloodline, your upbringing, your doubts, and build something no one in your family ever dared to imagine. Courage is not loud, it's quiet. It's the moment you press publish on the work your inner critic said was trash. It's when you walk away from a job that kills your soul, before you know how you'll pay rent. It's when you stare at the ceiling, broke, humiliated, afraid, and still say, "I'm not done." It is terrifying. But courage is the birthplace of every miracle you crave, because without it, purpose dies in silence. Vision evaporates. Discipline becomes a cage. Action never comes. Courage is the match that lights the whole fire. Do not wait for fear to leave. It won't. Move anyway. Speak anyway. Leap anyway. Because the brave don't act in the absence of fear. They act in spite of it. And every time you do, fear loses its grip. Doubt loses its teeth. And the world begins to bend to your will, because it sees something in you that cannot be manipulated. Conviction. And conviction is what makes the ground move beneath your feet. 11th number of the code. Identity. Become who you were meant to be. You want to unlock your potential? Then understand this. Your actions will never exceed the limits of your identity. You cannot outperform who you believe you are. So if you see yourself as weak, you will act weak. If you believe you're unworthy, every success will feel like theft. But if you change your identity, if you declare who you are before the world has seen it, then you will move like a king long before you wear the crown. The world told Muhammad Ali he was arrogant. What they didn't understand is that he had to believe he was the greatest before he became it. Because identity is not inherited. It is built, brick by brick, word by word, thought by thought. Every time you tell yourself, "I am disciplined, I am powerful, I am unstoppable," you are laying the bricks of a new self. And if you don't choose your identity, someone else will. Your parents, your past, your failures, your pain. But you are not your pain. You are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are the author now. You rewrite the code. You burn the script. You look into the mirror and declare who you are until the universe has no choice but to agree. Become the type of person your future demands, not the person your past created, not the version this world expected, but the true you when buried beneath the noise, covered in dust, waiting to rise. And when you step into that self fully, fiercely, unapologetically, everything changes. Because life does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are. 12th number of the code. Vision, burned into the mind's eye. You were not born for randomness. You were not meant to drift. You were built to aim, to lock your eyes on a future that makes your chest expand and your pulse quicken. That is vision, not a goal, not a wish, not a fantasy. It is a non-negotiable reality that lives in your soul before it exists in your life. It is your lighthouse in the dark, your compass when you are lost, your anchor in chaos. Without vision, the strongest warrior becomes a wandering ghost. Without vision, talent dies in circles. But when you see it, when you feel it, when you decide that it is not a matter of if, but when, then you begin to bend the world. Not overnight, but relentlessly. Every action aligns, every thought sharpens, every breath becomes a step forward. The vision must be clear, it must be bold, it must scare you a little and excite you a lot. And here's the truth they won't tell you. Your vision doesn't need permission. It doesn't require approval. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else, because it didn't come to them. It came to you. So protect it like fire in a snowstorm. Guard it from critics, cynics, and cowards, and no matter what happens, never let it die. Because vision is not a luxury, it is your duty. The future demands it, the world needs it, and your destiny waits for it. 13th number of the code, elevation, rise above the noise. There will come a moment in your journey, a quiet, invisible line, where you must choose. Will you rise, or will you remain? You'll know you're there when the noise around you gets louder, not because you failed, but because you're getting close. Distractions will multiply, opinions will multiply, doubts, internal and external, will scream for your attention. Because when you rise, you force others to look at themselves. When you refuse to settle, it exposes the comfort of those who did. They won't like that. They'll tell you you've changed, that you're different, they're right, you're elevating, and the air gets thinner at the top. Fewer voices, fewer handouts, more solitude, more weight. But that's where the greats live. The top is not for the most liked, it's for the most disciplined. The top doesn't reward those who complain, it rewards those who climb anyway. You must rise, not just in results, but in mindset. Above the old habits, above the old fears, above the mediocre standards you once called normal. Winners don't just do more, they become more. They raise their standards so high that failure feels unnatural. They raise their awareness so sharply that excuses sound foreign. And they raise their focus so precisely that nothing, not time, not people, not noise, can pull them off course. They rise with purpose, they rise with force, and they never apologize for the altitude. So rise. And if it feels uncomfortable, good. You were never meant to live small. 14th and last number of the code, destiny, the final gate. There is something you must understand, or not just in your mind, but in your bones. You were not born random. You were not sent here without reason. There is something inside you, a seed, a force, a fire, that is screaming to be unleashed, and until you let it out, no achievement, no applause, no amount of money will satisfy you. Because purpose is not optional, it is oxygen. You may bury it under doubt, you may silence it with distraction, you may ignore it with comfort, but it's still there, beating, waiting. It is your destiny, and it is not a place you find. It is a person you become. It's what happens when vision aligns with action, when belief aligns with discipline, when courage meets commitment. Destiny is not fate, it's forged. It's crafted in sweat, in silence. In the brutal hours no one sees, every sacrifice you make in private is a brick in your public empire. Every time you say no to comfort, you say yes to greatness. And no, the world won't always clap for you. Sometimes they'll ignore you, sometimes they'll laugh, sometimes they'll doubt you to your face. Let them, because while they talk, you build. While they doubt, you deliver. And while they sleep, you rise. And one day, when the weight of your work breaks through the clouds, they'll ask how you did it. And you won't need to answer, because destiny speaks for itself. Now we have the 14 code numbers to unlock your true potential. Belief, clarity, purpose, discipline, action, gratitude, adaptability, resilience, learning, courage, identity, vision, elevation, and last but not least, destiny. This is the password to release the unstoppable mind. So now I ask you, what if this isn't just another motivational moment? What if this is the line? The moment you look in the mirror and say, no more half-living, no more hiding, no more apologizing for the fire in my soul. What if today you stopped waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect version of yourself? What if you decided, here and now, to live like the person you were born to be? Because there is no perfect time, there is only now. And now belongs to the bold, the disciplined, the relentless, the ones who feel the fear and walk forward anyway, the ones who fall and rise with more clarity, more power, more purpose each time. You are not average, you are not weak, you are not lost, you are becoming. And if you dare, if you truly dare, to unlock the power buried inside you, you will discover a life most only dream of, not because you were lucky, but because you were willing. Willing to believe when others laughed, willing to sacrifice when others slept, willing to act when others hesitated, willing to rise again and again and again, until the life you imagined bowed to the force of your will. That is the mindset of unstoppable winners. That is how you unlock your true potential. So rise and never come back down. And now, if this woke something up inside you, if it reminded you of who you are and what you're truly capable of, then don't keep it to yourself. There's someone out there right now still living in silence, still drowning in excuses, still waiting for permission to rise. Share this with them. Be the reason they wake up too. And if you're tired of surface-level thinking, tired of the noise, the excuses, the sleepwalking through life, then take your seat. This isn't just a channel. It's a circle around the fire, a place for those who are done being average and ready to rise. Here, we don't just talk about growth, we burn for it. So take your seat at the fire. Subscribe, not just to content, but to the mindset, the mission, the movement. Let them scroll, let them sleep. You build empires.